Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Sparking Change with Gigi. Our topic today is the power of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most important things that we can incorporate in our daily lives every day, because being grateful for what we have will definitely bring us more. And today's guests, Ahmed Faham and Ralph Softly, are going to join me to talk about the importance of gratitude, an attitude of gratitude in our life, and how important it is. Hello, good fellas. How are you?
We're doing well. Thank you for hosting us on your show
Thank
for
you for
today.
thank you for joining me.
Doing well, thank you.
I truly appreciate you coming on today to really share your wisdom with us, because I know your journey to where you are today definitely is one that I'm very grateful to hear and be part of as well. So, without no further ado, let's talk about the power of gratitude and what it means to you. Ahmed?
Well, gratitude to me is an appreciation to the Creator for whatever creation He has given us, including ourselves. And basically, it opens up a new channel or a channel of receiving and a channel which keep abundance flowing, and everything just keeps getting better because of the attitude of gratitude.
So,
And if Wallace Waddle stated, and he said the whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word, and that's gratitude. And gratitude, as we know, the more you're grateful for something, no matter how small they may be, the more you shall get of that thing. And it just hooks you up with the source of unlimited supply.
totally. And Ralph, I know you have wonderful wisdom to share with us because you've been on a great journey yourself.
Thank you. I have. Um, Gratitude to me, it's sort of like I remember hearing an exercise about gratitude, and it was basically this: breathe in, breathe out, breathe in again, breathe out. Just being able to breathe, showing that how the Creator loves you, and
Mhm.
it's just gratitude. Anything. I mean, for me, I lost my mother almost a year ago. I was so grateful that she was in my life. Of course, I didn't want to see her go. However,
Mhm.
so much gratitude that she's no longer suffering and she's in a better place now. So it's just for me, gratitude is about perception. I always try and look on the positive side of everything because everything happens for a reason. But your perception is how you make it, work for you. So I'm always, right now it's a little bit overcast, but for me it's a beautiful day because it's a day I'm living through.
Absolutely. When I know from my own personal experience, when I thought I was on my next journey, the way I appreciate life and have gratitude for just getting up and taking a breath means so much to me, because now I know the value of life. And I'm so grateful to be here to share what we're learning to help people know that there's so much more for us as long as we show gratitude for what we have and not what we don't have. Because in a world full of fear, doubt, and worry, we go into lack, what we don't have. That brings us into that state of mind, right? Versus opening up our heart to know that we can receive so much more, and there is more. We do have more, but we don't look at it from that perspective.
And I love it how Brother Ralph stated regarding the perception, and you said as well to focus on what we have and be grateful for that, because you're giving energy to it, right? You're creating a harmonic resonance between yourself and the thing that you're grateful for, but you cannot help but to receive more. Whatever you give energy to grows. Whatever kind of energy you put out comes back to you multiple fold. So that little gratitude, no matter how small things may be in your life at this time, be grateful for those little things. Bless them. For someone that complains of coming from lack and limitation, even that which he has or she has, that can also basically go away. But the one that has something, no matter how small, and you maintain your appreciation and gratitude to God, more of that will be replicated in your life, and greater things shall come. Because you create the feeling that you have in your state of being, and that remains in your consciousness. Therefore, whatever is in your consciousness will project itself again. If you're holding the feeling of lack and limitation for not having, then that will also project itself, and therefore it will create similar conditions.
Absolutely. One thing that comes to mind is every morning we do a list of 10 things that we're grateful for, in our daily self-discipline camp. And we all come up with from the smallest to the grandest things, because we take advantage of not knowing that even, having running water, where some countries, they don't have clean running water, right? So to be grateful for those things that we just take advantage for, that we think we are entitled to, becomes important, for sure.
Very much so. And let me just piggyback off of what you're talking about, because I remember when I was in college, I worked at the Shriners Burn Institute in Galveston, Texas, for little kids, and I was their substitute teacher. And I just remembered a lot of these kids came from all over the world with full thickness burns over their body. Their faces were burned off or whatever, their noses. So they were there for the surgeries to get them as close to normal looking as possible. However, I just remember they had the indomitable spirit of children, even though they had these horrific scars. They were still kids. And I looked at those kids, and at that point, I had that significant emotional experience to simply say, if these kids went through all of this and they are still being children and still laughing and still playing, I myself can never have a bad day in my life. And so now, how you doing? I'm doing great. I'm always doing great because I've got my health. You can have all this wealth, and trust me, I would like it, and I'm working on it, and I'm obtaining it. But still, I know, your health, and then your attitude and just gratitude is the most important thing, because if you don't have gratitude for that, there's things. But if, people just take it for granted, then, you're going to lose it. And that, so yeah. Thank you.
Agree. Thank you, Ralph. I totally agree that we will lose it. If we're not grateful, you will lose it in another way, but you will end up losing it, right? Because gratitude just is a way of expressing love for what you have, right? So
Absolutely.
the other thing is I know for sure for me, when we're talking about being gratitude, it changes your mood. It changes your mental state of mind, right? One of the things that we learn is that if you're, feeling stuck, or your feelings are low, go out and serve. and you will open up your heart to see and appreciate what you have and look at the other side of it. What, Ahmed, what do you think about that? When we say open up your heart, right?
Absolutely. And the whole thing is that you connect with the divine. You know, Wallace Wattles touched a point with it. And for example, you have, let's say, children. One of them is never grateful for what you give him. The other one is always grateful, regardless of how much small of a token he may receive from you. Now, when you reach in the state of abundance, who do you feel you want to give more? You know, as human beings, we're children of God,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We should never forsake and abandon our true nature. Now, Wallace Wattles kept a point. This is like related when it comes to finances. He said, many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty by their lack of gratitude. You know, we see usually people appreciating something after getting out of a trouble by receiving something. It should never be the case. Gratitude should be throughout all areas of our life, regardless whether it's good or bad. You should do more so by praising and blessing in terms of gratitude during your good times, because that just allows things to keep flowing for you. You know, most people, having received one gift from God, they cut the wires which connect them with God by failing to make acknowledgement. And that just doesn't feel right. And then he also states it is easy to understand that the nearer we live to the source of wealth, the more wealth we shall receive. Now, God is our creator. You know, if everything moves from spirit to form, he's also the provider and the sustainer. And it is easy also to understand that the soul that is always grateful lives in closer touch with God than the one which never looks to him in thankful acknowledgement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And knowing that that is so important to stay connected, right? Stay connected so that when things go wrong, you would have that inner knowing that he's there to protect you and that you're grateful for every minute.
Definitely. I remember hearing some sayings, you know, when you're going through things, they say it's a breakdown, but you break down to break through. And one of my favorite ones, if you want to get to it, you got to go through it. And it's just so important that, you know, you have gratitude during these times because you're coming into something better. Because, you know, they say a great sea captain is not created on a smooth sea. You got to go through the storms. And I just know one thing, those storms are what making me better. So I have gratitude for it. I mean, it might not be the same as, you know, the gratitude I have when I get a Porsche, but you know, I'm just saying.
No, but I agree with you, Ralph. You look back and you have to have gratitude for all those experiences, good, bad, or otherwise, right? Because we wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't have those experiences. And every experience, whether it's negative or positive, it's a learning adventure, right? Life is the learning. Life is full of lessons in life. It's what you take away with it, with whether you have a positive, mental attitude towards that experience or negative. It does affect your outcome, for sure. And what,
Absolutely.
right?
And attitude is habitual. So the more you maintain sustaining a consecutive thought and feeling of an attitude of gratitude, the stronger that the maintenance remains in your life. You know, as from Wallace Wallace's book, he said, "Draw nigh unto God, and He will draw nigh unto you." Draw nigh unto God, and He will draw nigh unto you. And if your gratitude is strong and constant, the reaction of the divine will be strong and continuous. Therefore, the movement of things you want will always be moving toward you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I know you mentioned today, and we had a meeting, and you mentioned about Les Brown, and he had a couple of sayings. I said, "Oh my God, these were so good." Can you repeat them?
Yes, and it doesn't matter if somebody, you know, goes through an adversity or a setback. And as Les Brown stated it beautifully, he said, a setback is nothing but a setup for a comeback.
Love
And
that.
he also said that if you're going to fall, make sure you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up.
Get up. So good. So good. And that happens with a heart of gratitude, right? Knowing that somebody's got your back always.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, when we look at, you know, we got Thanksgiving coming up. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this show is because when families get together, right, we give grace, but it's like only done on special occasions. And I want to really, you know, make a point here is that gratitude must be done every day to stay connected. It's not just on Thanksgiving, right? Why do we say that? Why do you think that, Ralph? You agree
Oh,
with me?
yeah, no. Well, yes and no. I just know if I said grace just every Thanksgiving, I wouldn't be here. I'd be beat to death because I had to say, I had to give grace for everything. And that's just what it was. And as I grew older and got on my own, I sort of forgot that. But, you know, I have some friends who always be like, "Hey, heathen." I'm like, "Oops, sorry, sorry, let's say grace."
Right, right.
But no, you always want to have the attitude of gratitude because, quite frankly, you might not get it, but you have it. So be thankful for it because not everybody can do this, you know. Like you were speaking about earlier, somewhere else, somebody might not have what you have. Somebody would probably kill somebody to be in the situation that you're in right now. So you should always be thankful.
There's always something to be thankful for.
And I remember, you know, when Bob was teaching at a time, and he said, when you're writing your list of gratitude, even the things you want to have, write them in the form that you already have them and give thanks for that. Now, so for some people, they may think, okay, how can I be grateful for something I have not received yet? But if everything moves from spirit to form, it's in your mind. If you can imagine it, it exists. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to imagine yourself with it. Now, you're giving in gratitude towards something. Physically, it's not here, but in spiritual form, it's already there. It's only a matter of time. As you maintain your gratitude, it will start to move into form, coming toward you.
And you must believe, right? You must have that burning desire to believe that it is for you.
It is done. It is
It
done
is
unto you as you believe.
Exactly, exactly. And one more thing, and the one that I'm just getting onto about what you guys are saying, you have to be ready to receive all that you desire. You have to be ready for it.
That's beautiful, Ralph. And we're going to take a short commercial break, and we're going to come back, and you're going to explain what do you mean by that, okay? Be ready to receive. We'll be right back, everyone.
Now, the vast majority, approximately 95% of the people of all countries, go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people. That we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone, so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
So Brother Ralph is, oh, there you go. Brother Ralph is going to tell us, what did you mean? So
Okay.
what did you mean by that? Ready to receive.
It's one thing, a lot of people will say that they want $1 million, but they don't do the work to get $1 million. So they're not ready to receive it. It's more of a, they say it's a goal, but it's more of a dream. So that's why I always say one of my talks is just do the work. If you do the work and you hold that thought in your mind and you put in earnest action, it will come true. It's got to. It's one of the universal laws. So you have to be ready to receive something. And that's what I mean by that.
That's beautiful. And, talking about the universal laws, I mean, there is a law of gratitude.
Exactly.
And the law of compensation, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
exactly. Mm-hmm.
So we can't have it be separate. They're actually go together.
They do. They do.
So Ahmed, let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, you say when you maintain a harmonic resonance between yourself and what you're grateful for, you create an alignment, right? Now, we know that by being grateful, you hook yourself up with the source of unlimited supply.
Infinite intelligence in action.
Absolutely. And, with the right mental attitude of gratitude, it will start to come. But you need to acknowledge, regardless if it's physically here or not. If it's here, great. Be grateful for it. If it comes in certain portions, be grateful for it. And gratitude is, one time Bob, I think he was explaining it. He said, why you want to receive a blessing from behind a door by receiving bits and pieces through the key chamber? He said, with gratitude, it's like you open the door and allow the blessings to flow. And Wallace Wattles, said, the value of gratitude does not consist solely in getting you more blessings in the future. He said, without gratitude, you cannot long keep from dissatisfied thought regarding things as they are. Now, what does that do? Because if you don't practice gratitude, you're going to fall into the trap by finding faults of things. Therefore, it's going to mess with your adjustment. Now, by being grateful, you maintain the balance and harmony because it doesn't allow your thinking to deviate into something else.
And it's so easy to do with everything we hear and everything we see, with our five senses, that we we truly get into a space that, again, brings us to like what we don't have, because we start to compare. We start to see what somebody else has and what we don't have, and it brings us into a low emotional vibration as well, right? Emotionally, the gratitude is a high emotion, and not being grateful, and not being grateful, but without showing gratitude, you're falling into that trap, like you said.
Go ahead, brother.
There we go. No, definitely. Because you were talking earlier about, perception and also intuition. And you were saying that some people can't see things positively. They have a little problem hanging, saying there. But I know people, and then they say, that stuff, I don't believe in that stuff. And it just sort of, I sort of chuckle. I was like, no, you do it every day, but you do it through worry. And I call worry is misuse of the imagination. So what's going on is you think of a bad outcome, and now you get to that frequency, and now you're beginning to attract that. And that's just like the opposite of what we're talking about right now, the exact opposite. But a lot of people, when they get to that low frequency, that low energy, that's where they live. And it's so sad because just like that, you can switch it if you want to. But like I said, you have to use
Intentionally,
your
right?
Hmm?
Intentionally
Yes,
make that switch.
intentionally make that switch. But more important, intentionally keeping it there too. Because you can go there, but then if your default is negative, you're going to go right back. So that's why I'm saying with the attitude of gratitude, that keeps you in the higher frequency. So if you always have that, you're always there just by default. And then things begin to change. And then next thing you know, you have a great life.
Gratitude, before I studied it the way I have now, I used to just pray, right? Say a prayer. That was showing gratitude in my own world. But now prayer is just a beginning. It's just the beginning of what you can do with gratitude, especially when you're faced with health challenges, right? You're in order to bring more health into your life, in order for you to see wellness versus sickness. Ahmed, you said something earlier regarding suffering.
Happiness and health goes together.
Say it again.
Sadness and sickness. Happiness and health goes together. Sadness and sickness goes together. So it's emotional based. See, gratitude empowers your emotions, right? Because it's a positive emotion. But when somebody is basically nagging on lack and limitation, that's a disempowering emotion. It doesn't feel good. But people ask me, okay, how can I know if I'm in a high vibration or a low vibration? Your emotions are your greatest indicator. If you can frequently check your emotions, let's say every hour, where is it at? You can make the mental adjustment and come back onto an alignment. And another thing, Oswaldo also relates with gratitude and faith. He said faith is born of gratitude. He said the grateful mind continually expects good things, and expectation becomes faith. He said the reaction of gratitude upon one's own mind produces faith, and every outgoing wave of grateful thanksgiving increases faith.
So
He said,
true.
he who has no feelings of gratitude cannot long retain a living faith. Now remember, God is a provider, and He is the source of infinite supply, unlimited supply. So he who has no feeling of gratitude cannot long retain a loving faith. And without a loving faith, you cannot get rich by the creative method. We never want to go on the competitive method, because a competitive mind also thinks from a stance of lack and limitation
And separation.
and separation. So it is necessary to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing comes to you, and to give thanks continuously.
So true.
Of course, of course. And I also just want to reiterate, if you don't have gratitude, you're going to cut yourself off from the source. You might have a little bit in reserve, but that's going to dry up quick. And then next thing you know, not so good. So yeah, the attitude of gratitude is paramount.
It's funny, in my own book with the rainbow, part of, each letter represents a specific way of doing the inner work. And one of it is being optimistic with an attitude of gratitude. Because when we look at life, we can see what's wrong with it, or we can see what's great with it.
What's
right?
great. Absolutely.
And when we are in a state of gratitude, we tend to see what's good with life.
And it's, again, it's a perception. We do get bombarded by a lot of activity throughout our day, from the time we wake up until we go to bed. There's so many things happening around us, but we seldom take the time to slow our mind, calm our heart, to just focus on the things that we usually overlook, and just to try to appreciate those little things. How often do we do that? We don't take the time. We're caught up continuously
With the doing.
with with too many activities that we don't really take time to appreciate them. And this is key. Everybody has the same equal time, 24 hours a day. Wallace Waddell said, do not waste time thinking or talking about shortcomings or wrong actions of plutocrats or trust magnates, or, for example, whatever you may see in your life, if there are things you don't like, don't waste any time thinking about what's wrong. Focus only on the things that are right. For that, whatever is there is also serving a purpose for you to get what you want. But the whole thing is, you do not have to give your attention to focus on what's missing, what could have been better. Just be grateful for whatever is there. Greater things will come.
It's the fear that sets in, right? The fear, the disbelief, the stress, the anxiety, all that seems to take over and become more something that we focus on, versus focusing on what is there, what's the lesson, what's the teaching from this experience or from what I see that can help me, versus what am I taking that is creating more havoc in my life.
And fear. What is fear? False emotions appearing real, false evidences appearing real. But nevertheless, it's an emotion. Why can't we induce the opposite of this emotion? If Wallace Waddell said, faith is also goes hand in hand with gratitude. So fear is basically an absence of faith. Or we can
Absolutely.
look at, we gotta even like, okay, let's say I have a fear setting in. Just change the meaning. Face it. Face everything and rise. And
the other thing
whatever
is that I'm sorry. I was going to say we can't be in both. Either you're
no, you
choosing
can,
faith
yeah,
or you're choosing fear, right?
absolutely. So if there's something going in your life that is not in harmony with what you wish, or if it's going downhill, we have to basically, we can't change it right there and then, but we have to, one, accept it. It is what it is, But the second step, which is very important, and this is to find the good in any situation and
So
be grateful for that, regardless of whatever is going on. I heard that W. Clement Stone, whenever anything went wrong in his company, and when people came up to him to discuss about the matter, he had made a habit that regardless of the information that he gets to hear, he always says, well, that's good.
yeah,
Bob always told us. Yes.
Yeah.
He always said, be a good finder and not a fault finder. Because the things that you are seeking is seeking you. If I'm going to be a fault finder, what else am I going to see besides faults in my life? I need to shift my perception and focus on the good and be grateful. There's always something good in any situation. If you look enough, you will surely find it.
Absolutely. And maybe not in the same place, but you will see at the end there is always a seed of equal or better,
Greater benefit.
greater benefit. Exactly. For every adversity. Again, to get out of that downward spiral of the negative thoughts, negative emotions, is going on the opposite side, right? Because there's a law of polarity that says with every bad there's a good. So what are we focused on? Basically, is what we're saying. And what we focus on grows.
Whatever you focus on the longest becomes the strongest. Any idea that you entertain mentally and emotionally is what will be retained in your subconscious. So if God is about abundance, God is about health, God is about wellness, then every little thing that we are focusing on from the good perspective, and we are grateful for them, that's what we're going to attract more into our life.
So true. So true. Also when you're going down a journey of uncertainty, if you can focus on what you want rather than what you don't want, you'll always be ahead of the game.
See, I'm very grateful for the information that has used me. As I think I heard Bob saying it a few times.
Yes, he did say that a few times, you're right.
And knowing this kind of information, every scripture talks about gratitude. But knowing this kind of information and understanding that God has blessed mankind with a mind, and it operates initially from thought. From your thoughts, you induce these emotions. They always say you will not get what you want. You will get what you are. And you'll always also get what you feel about what you want. So what feeling am I emitting to God, to the universe? regardless whether I have it or not. This is what matters. If you can imagine yourself as a living tuning fork and you're operating at a certain frequency, you may connect with the thing you want. You may not be able to perceive it from where you're standing physically. But I just want to share that with gratitude, it just comes.
You know, it's funny when we're looking at going on vacation, right? We take that for example. We're so happy we're going. We got 7 days off from work. We're full of joy and happiness and just grateful that we're taking the time off. And you can see that when we go on vacation, we get to experience so much more because we're putting out such good energy. And I'm not saying every day we have to put out the same energy, but keeping our vibration up no matter what comes our way. I think there is also another quote that Bob used to talk about circumstances in our lives. Do you remember the quote? It was from like we could create our own circumstance versus we let circumstances.
Yeah,
I forget who said that.
I remember, I think it was George Bernard Shaw.
Yes.
He said, I don't believe in circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if I get up in the morning and I don't find the circumstances that I'm looking for, I make them. I create them.
It's so good.
And he touched on the law. He understood the law of cause and effect. Well, how grateful are we to understand that we can do that? You know, I was on a call earlier, and I mentioned on that call, I said, I can never be grateful enough for everything. As Wallace Wattles even states, he said, you must give thanks continuously, and you must pray unceasingly.
So true. In order to receive more.
In order to receive more. Now, in general, human beings, you know, as when we talk about us as the self, you know, the self goes through many phases, you know, emotionally. You know, we have fear, then we have the struggle, then we have, you know, the ego side, then we have the spiritual side, then we have faith. But I want to like categorize it down to 3 initially. Okay, the ego self is usually focused on material things because they're operating by their sensory factors: hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, and that's how they get to analyze their environment and what they have. And they're basically always operating from lack and limitation. So they like to possess things. You don't have to hoard things. If you're hoarding things, it's like you're signaling out that if I don't have enough of this, I'm going to lose something. You never lose anything. If you lose it here, you're going to lose it here. So this is the ego self. The second is we like to call al-nafs al-lawama, or means a person who cannot settle. It's struggling internally. That's the state of excuse me, state of anxiety. They have a sense they want to have the faith, but they're holding on to the fear at the same time. They're trying to believe, but their physical side is saying, if you can see it, then believe it.
And so that is so not true.
Yeah. But with faith, we know, believe it and you'll get to see it. Now, when it comes to gratitude, we're being grateful to the divine. So it goes hand in hand with faith. So then there's the third one. The third self is the self that knows. The self that is basically a person who has his heart, in an emotional state that is serene. There is no more worry. There is no more doubt. If every scripture talks about it, most people that are worried about where the next, loaf of bread is gonna is gonna come, they basically are not excuse me, are not in harmony with gratitude. But for those that have faith and have tested this principle, they can surely tell you that it works every time. But how honest are you with applying it?
Absolutely. It's testing it and using it in your daily lives, right?
Absolutely.
Ralph, can you share an experience with us?
Of course. In fact, it's happening right now. I am selling a home. And I said to myself, it wasn't moving quickly. It was moving at the speed it was moving. But I said, you know what? We're going to have this done by the end of this month. I didn't worry about how it was going to be done. And I didn't care how it was going to be done. I just made it. I just made a statement, a determination to myself. We're going to have it done at the end of this month.
Decision.
And guess what? On the 29th, we close. Because and of course there were some obstacles. I had to get people to go along with what I was thinking. And I didn't tell them any of this, but it's just sort of like, look, we've had this house. Other things, other houses in the same complex have been on the market for over a year. Some of them have been taken off the market. The one we've had it for 4 months, and somebody gave us not the offer we wanted, but it's an offer that's doable. And we also, and like I said, we don't want to keep on paying HOAs because nobody's living there. So let's just move it. Right. So yes, that was a decision was made. That's what happened. And
you had that desire, right? That desire that it was going to happen, and you
stuck by it. And because of all the work that all of us do, with NHI, with whatever we work with, it's just a no-brainer, because you just hold it in your head, because they say people like to use a willpower like as a blunt force object, but it's not that. It's the ability to hold something in the front of your mind and just keep it there, no matter what happens, no matter what it looks like right now in your outside world. You have to come from the inside out, not the outside in.
I love that. That's so true. So true. And be thankful, it's coming from within, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It's being thankful that you have something, but not that something. You see what I'm saying? It's not about having that object that gives you the feelings are within, is what I'm trying to say. So the gratitude is coming from an emotional standpoint, not from the object itself. And so that's so important to know, because it's not the objects that really gives us more. It's Absolutely. The feelings that give us more, right? We're just going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back. One more commercial break. We'll be right back from our sponsor. Yes, I'm sorry. What you going to say, Ahmed?
No, I was going to say that a little less than 2 years ago, I was at a very low point in my life health-wise. And I have went to several hospitals, and I had a lot of sharp pain in my abdomen area. And doctors couldn't seem to find it. I've gotten many different diagnoses that don't make sense. And whenever I've done multiple checkups, they couldn't find anything wrong. I was always focusing that I don't have my health. And I kept saying, why am I not healthy? Why am I not? And it was getting worse and worse and worse. And when I realized that, okay, I know these principles, but why am I not applying it? I said, okay, fine. So every day as I go to my shower, and I continuously pray, and I say, dear God, thank you for your guidance and for your swift healing. And I repeat that 3 times every day during my shower. This shift came to me, and I was shopping for some groceries. I was holding the trolley. I remember I was going through a painful episode. And I said, I will operate from truth. And I will start to operate from the cause. And I know if the law of cause and effect, as Ralph Waldo Emerson stated, is the law of laws. So I said, I need to change the effect by going with the cause. And I said, the divine truth that's within me has set me free. And I'm so grateful to you, God. I maintained not just saying it and rehearsing in my mind, but with all of my emotions from my heart that I have been healed. I imagined myself healed, and I induced the emotions of how would it feel for me to be a healed person. It didn't take long. My health started to improve. And I was giving gratitude every day. Even during the time when I was in pain, I was giving gratitude that I was healed. And I can attest to that.
We have to go through a process of acknowledgement. Give it acknowledgement
Absolutely.
first. And then
Always.
give gratitude for sure. So as final words, Ralph, would you like to say anything before we wrap it up? The last words, how can someone continue to bring, the power of gratitude into their lives?
Want to do it. You just have to want to do it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to hold it in your mind, because a lot of stuff on the outside is not going to, have gratitude with a bow on it written there. It's going to be something different. So you just have to hold on to it. You have to come from a place of strong belief, strong action, and thus strong gratitude.
Giving you that inner peace, right?
Exactly.
So good.
Exactly.
So good. Thank you. And Ahmed, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is you may be doing a lot of things. Do take some time throughout the day. During the morning, write down your gratitude list. A lot of people are not practicing this.
Do it for
doesn't
30
take
days.
long.
Do it
It
for
doesn't
30
take long.
Right.
How long it takes? 5 minutes? 10 minutes the most? It's a simple exercise, but it has a compounding effect.
Powerful.
Do it anyways.
So good. Absolutely. Take a challenge. Do a 30-day challenge. Take a journal. You get up in the morning first thing and just write 10 things you're grateful for. And I guarantee that you will feel different. You will see different things come into your lives. But thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate you coming on the show. This means a lot to me, because the power, there cannot be a stronger emotion of giving thanks to our Creator, for sure. And God is always watching us and always giving us more, as long as we show our gratitude. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to our next show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, Gigi.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will wrap it up and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.